Before we begin, I want to welcome those of you who are joining us for the first time and take a moment to share the mission of the Parkinson's Foundation. Every day and in everything we do, we are working to make life better for people with Parkinson's. To achieve our mission, we pursue three goals: improve care for everyone with Parkinson's, advance research toward a cure, and empower and educate our global community. The PD Health at Home Programs and Care Partner Summit are presented by Accorda Therapeutics, Acadia Pharmaceuticals, and the Light of Day Foundation, whose generosity has made this programming possible. And tune into our other PD Health at Home Care Partner Summit events this Wellness Wednesday and Fitness Friday. This Wednesday, we'll be talking about your role in medications. You can learn more and find out at parkinson.org/PDHealth to register. And next Mindful Monday, we will be welcoming back our expert from today's session, and she will cover self-care for care partners. And again, just some resources for you to browse. Just hoping that you feel supported by your Parkinson's community through the Parkinson's Foundation's resources. You can visit our website at parkinson.org or call our toll-free bilingual helpline at 1-800-4PD-INFO. We also have an email address, helpline@parkinson.org. And finally, it is with my sincere pleasure to introduce our experts today, Dr. Maria Sirois. She is an inspirational speaker, consultant, and licensed psychologist who has worked in the fields of wellness and positive psychology for 20 years. She focuses on the resilience of the human spirit, particularly when under chronic stress, during significant transitions, and or feeling the shock of wholesale change. Her clinical work brings the bounty of positive psychology and mind-body medicine to families and children facing terminal illness, and to the staff who care for them. An author as well, Maria has published 2 works: A Short Course in Happiness After Loss and Other Dark, Difficult Times. Dr. Maria Sirois, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, such an honor to be with you, Krista. Hello, everyone. We have such a wonderful group. And what I'm hoping is that we can just say a quick hello by typing into the chat just one word or phrase, a positive word or phrase that is meaningful to you, a positive word or phrase that is meaningful to you. Just a little warm up for the conversation today. So we've got energy, joy, gratitude, joyous day, hope, peace, gratitude, springtime, sunshine, puppy. Did I see pup? I think I saw puppy in there. Beautiful. I love optimism, joy, nature, the New York Yankees. Oh my goodness. Okay. Grateful, rain, hope, thankfulness. Yes. So notice how easily, how quickly a positive word or phrase comes to mind. That is absolutely delicious. And it turns out it is also crucial, because the most resilient of us acknowledge the difficult. We face it, we do our best to manage it, and we consciously, mindfully choose to pivot toward the positive whenever possible. And to steal a phrase from the Dalai Lama, it is often possible to pivot toward the positive. Now, what do we mean by that in the context of the pandemic, in the context of loving and caring for someone who is living with a diagnosis of Parkinson's? It means that every day presents its stressors and challenges. And also every day presents an opportunity to integrate the good, to integrate the positive. Now, why is this so important? I'm seeing some notes in the chat, by the way, Jennifer, that some people can't hear the sound. So I just wanted to point that out in case there's something that we can do on behalf of them. Thank you for letting us know in the chat, by the way. Why is it so important to pivot toward the positive? It turns out, and this is 3 decades of research from the field of positive psychology, that we do better when we spend more time in positive states. And by positive states, I mean things like happiness, contentment, delight, uplift, appreciation, kindness, generosity, etc. There are many positive states that we have access to when we mindfully put ourselves in that direction. Emerson said this years ago. To different minds, he said, the same world is a hell and a heaven. In other words, the same exact day, the same exact living can be experienced as hellish or as heavenly. Imagine that you've woken up this morning and there was a bit of a struggle around helping the person you care for get dressed in the morning. Right? Just a bit of a struggle, some frustration, some feelings were felt. And then a half an hour later, you're sitting down having a very pleasant cup of tea together. The most resilient of us would do two things. Number one, we would at some point figure out strategies for how to do that dressing moment a little bit more easily for both parties. And number two, we would savor the tea. We would savor the positive moment as it is happening, and we would savor it throughout the day. We do the best we can to manage the difficult, and we put our time, focus, and priority toward the positive. Now let's tie this general understanding of resilience into mindfulness, our theme for these beautiful Mindfulness Mondays. The most resilient of us find our way into prioritizing the positive and pivoting in that direction by becoming mindfully aware of the choices that we make. And it turns out that the capacity to be mindfully aware of choices rests most powerfully and most efficiently and most effectively in mindfulness. In other words, mindfulness is a foundational tool, absolutely foundational tool for building resilience. I'm going to teach you in a few moments a 3-minute mindfulness practice that basically can be done anywhere, in a waiting room, in line. It can be done sitting at home peacefully. It can be done, waiting in the car. So many opportunities, except when you're driving the car, not when you're driving the car or any other heavy equipment. But other than that, when you're in the car as a passenger, you can practice this, right? It is a very simple practice. It begins by just taking a few deep breaths so that we sort of ground ourselves in our bodies. And then I will ask you to just focus your attention on the rhythm of your breathing. And you can do this in one of a few ways. You can literally place a hand on your chest and feel the rise and fall of the chest. You can place a hand on your belly and feel the swelling and the decreasing of your belly. You could pay attention to the feel of the air moving in and out of your nostrils, or you could just bring your general awareness to breath in and breath out. And we will do that, focus on our breath for just 3 minutes. However, there's one thing I want you to practice. As you're focusing on your breathing, you're going to notice that your mind starts going other places. It starts chattering. I'm just curious, in your chat, just give me a sense of where your mind typically goes when you try to get it quiet. What kinds of thoughts does your mind typically have when you try to quiet it down? The to-do list, what's next, responsibilities, the past, worries, many things I need to do. The mind, the Buddhists call this monkey mind or puppy mind. It just races all over. That is its natural state until we remind it that it has the choice to be calm. Food, the future. What's to dinner? Do I have time to actually sit and be calm? So we start questioning, do I have the time for this? Anxiety about medicine, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, in this practice, you'll be focusing on your breath. Your mind will start doing everything that you're putting in the chat. And I'm going to ask you to do one thing. I'm going to ask you to simply say, oh, well, and return your focus back to breath. So we're breathing, we're focused on our breath, the mind starts chattering. You simply notice. No judgment, no attachment. You simply notice, you say, oh, well, and return to breath. We'll do the whole meditation for about 3 minutes. I'm going to guide you the whole way through. You'll hear my voice. So no harm, no foul if this sounds strange or if this is brand new, if this is your first time. You will hear my voice. At the end of 3 minutes, we'll bring it to a close and we'll see how we do. Okay. So settling yourself comfortably in your chair or wherever you are. You are absolutely welcome to close your eyes or simply soften your gaze. I like to put my hand on my heart so I can feel the rise and fall of my chest, but just wherever your hands are most comfortable. And we'll begin by taking a deep breath in and exhale, maybe exhale through the mouth. And again. And one more. And now for a moment, we're just going to focus on our breath as it moves in and out. Simply noticing the rhythm of our breathing as it moves in and out. If you become distracted by a thought, a feeling, a sound, or a sensation, simply notice, say, "Oh, well," and return to your breath. And let us practice together for just a couple of minutes. And anytime you notice you are distracted, simply say, "Oh, well," and return to breath. And we'll practice for about one more minute. Beautiful. I'd like you to take a deep breath in and a longer exhale. And maybe one more. Gorgeous. Welcome back to this moment. Now, in the chat, I'd love for you to let me know what that was like. Just a word or a phrase. What was that like? Our 3-minute simple breath meditation. So, some calming, some relaxing, helpful, peaceful. Great. A sense of focus, releasing. Went from anxious to calmer. Good, but challenging. My shoulders relaxed. Great. Oh, well. Beautiful. Now, super simple practice. There are so many benefits to meditation. I'm sure you've heard of many of them through the work with Krista. Some of the most important ones have to do with the physiological calming of the nervous system, of the brain, of the heart, right? Some of the blood, everything calms down. There is a psychological calming as well. We start to feel like we're a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more at ease, a little bit more in control. Not every time, and not every meditation is going to work, but most of the time, calming, relaxing effects. A second benefit that accrues over time is increased optimism. We feel more capable of taking on life's ups and downs when we practice meditation because it builds increased optimism. We're a little less ruminative, a little less negative, a little less pessimistic. But the foundational benefit of this particular practice has to do with the fact that we notice that we're agitated, distracted, we're thinking thoughts, we're feeling feelings, we're noticing sounds, and we learn to say, oh, well, and return to our breath. This is a benefit I like to call the return, and it is a meta benefit, an overarching benefit of meditation. You see, whether you do any kind of meditation practice, yoga, mindful breathing, mantra meditation, daily prayer, people even do mindful walking, mindful journaling, any meditation practice at all, your mind is going to distract itself. And we know that the most resilient of us notice our distractions, notice our stressors, and we return to calm before we make our choices. Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor, said the following: in between stimulus and response is a space. And in that space, we have the freedom to choose how we will respond. As we practice this 3-minute mindfulness practice, breath, focus, notice we're agitated, oh well, return to breath. We teach ourselves to return to calm before we make our next move, before we say the next thing or act the next way, take the next behavior on. This return opens that door to wiser choices. So, for example, just before we got on, Krista and I were talking. She said, do you mind if I use the image from your website? You have that beautiful necklace on and your hair looks great. And immediately I thought, oh, my hair doesn't look great today. That's what we do, right? We jump to conclusions. We make ourselves a little nutty. There are little minor insults throughout the day that we can experience as insults, or we can just mindfully take a breath and go, look at that. I went a little crazy for a second about my hair. Oh, well, back to breath. Oh, well, back to breath. Yes, thank you, Andrea, for putting that in. Viktor Frankl. In between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is the freedom to choose wisely. In that space is the freedom to choose wisely. Now, a couple of things. We're going to do one more. We're going to do the same thing one more time, but I'm not going to speak as much. So you'll have more of the full practice just sort of by yourself. Number one, it doesn't matter if you say, oh, well, 1,072 times in 3 minutes, because the goal is that you are training your brain when it is agitated to go back to calm, to go back to a deep breath. That's the goal. We want to train ourselves to notice I'm agitated. I'm thinking crazy thoughts. Oh, I'm feeling very reactive. All my feelings are up. Oh, well, back to breath, right? Thank you, Krista. Gorgeous. Thank you for putting that in. So no judgment. If you have to say, oh, well, 5 times, 40 times, no judgment. Number one. Number two, the research from the field of meditation is pretty consistent. Now, most of the data today is being done on 10-minute increments, right? We're only doing 3 minutes because what the leaders in the field have determined is even 3 minutes a day builds these beautiful generalizable benefits like calmer, wiser decision making, like more creative and innovative solutions, like less agitation, more happiness, like better sleep, like increasing optimism. 3 minutes here, and here's the other trick, by the way, 3 minutes a day. It often feels so good that we tend to do maybe 4 and sometimes 5, and sometimes 5 becomes 10, or you do maybe 3 minutes in the morning and then you decide to do it in the afternoon because Lord knows somebody said something about your hair again in the afternoon and now you're all agitated. So you take 3 minutes off, right? By the way, full permission. You do 3 minutes throughout the day, again, except when you're driving heavy equipment. Now, the trick is not to have the perfect meditation where you have no distracting thoughts, because that's not humanity. The trick is to learn to be at peace with agitating thoughts and difficult feelings and return to calm before you decide what to do with them. That's the trick. That's where resilience is built. Okay, so we're going to do this one more practice again. I'm going to kick us off and then we'll be quiet together for 3 minutes. So again, settling yourself in comfortably. We'll take a few deep breaths in. And again. And one more. Closing your eyes if you wish, or just softening your gaze. Bring your attention to your breath and just simply follow its natural rhythm. If you become distracted in any way, simply say, "Oh, well," and return to breath. And we'll be back together again in just under 3 minutes. And taking a deep breath in. Welcome back. Now, we have just a couple of minutes left. If you have any question about this, please put it in the chat. And Jennifer, if we could put my website in the chat, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Before we close today, a couple of things. Number one, I will be back again with you for the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to teach you each class a different kind of meditation, all of which are built to facilitate resilience. Number two, what we're looking to do is build better moments. There is so much uncertainty and so much lack of control in living with and or caring for someone living with a diagnosis like Parkinson's, that what we need to do is focus our attention on where we absolutely do have control, which is who we are and in the choices we make. For some people, Elaine, a more rapid heartbeat is partly because we're paying attention, partly because for some of us, when we first get quiet, it actually raises a kind of anxiety, which might trigger a heartbeat. The third reason for a rapid heartbeat is that when we're taking on a new task, a challenge, sometimes we're actually activating courage. And by the way, a courageous heartbeat is fast, just like an excited, anxious heartbeat is. So your rapid heartbeat may be a little anxiety, it may be a little excited courage. And it may simply be that you're just quieting enough that you're paying attention to a heartbeat that periodically is rapid. If the rapid heartbeat continues, please do have that checked out. You are welcome about the whole well. Yeah, I would set a timer, Paula. Why not? And then over time, like if you did this once a day, every day for a couple of weeks, you will naturally know when 3 minutes is up and you won't need the timer. And full permission, by the way. If you get to 3 minutes and you want to keep going, just turn the timer off and keep going. No harm, no foul there. Yes, I was at Kripalu, Carla. Was I relaxed or just sleepy? It kind of doesn't matter because it turns out that rest is something so many of us need more of. So if it puts you into a sleepy state, that is, you go for that. Go for that. Beautiful. Okay, I think I've captured all the questions. And in this last moment, I'm going to turn it over to Krista. Before I do, I will see you next Monday where we are going to focus on meditation, mindfulness work relative to self-care. The theme will be the sort of the domain of self-care under the umbrella of resilience. Krista, to you.
Thank you, Maria. And I thank you all for joining us today and embracing perhaps a new journey in how you perceive and think and feel and even breathe. I know when I started my mindful journey, it first began with learning how to breathe. And so I want to thank Maria for introducing us to a new way of exploring the breath. And of course, this idea of optimism. Great way to start a Monday. And I'm looking forward to our session with you next Monday, Maria. So thank you so much. For everyone who's still hanging on, I just want to thank you all for joining me and Maria and the rest of the staff here tuning in with the Parkinson's Foundation for our PD Health at Home Care Partner Summit Mindfulness Mondays. And a shout out to our sponsors today, Accorda, Acadia, and Light of Day Foundation for their generous support in making this programming possible. We will see you all next Mindful Monday. And throughout the week, carry that optimism with you. Take that moment of pause, that space to return back to positive thinking. See you next Monday.